Hey everybody, it's Casey and Brad here at the Xpnsion Network. We've got a great interview to kick off this pre-conference special that we're running on Xpnsion Network.
Yeah.
Neil Gaur is in the studio, in the house.
In house, that's fine.
We're going to be talking to him. He's going to tell us a little bit about his event. And why he does what he does, and how all of this has transpired.
Yeah, we've had the pleasure to meet Neil and his now lovely wife many years ago when I think both of us were really just getting started. We were just participants at an expo and we're kind of, right by each other, and through the expo, chatted and kind of got to know each other, and then now catching up many years later and seeing excitingly the progression that we both have made. And it's really cool when that happens, because you never know. Well, this supports that, you never know who the people you're going to connect with are going to kind of come back and touch you once again. You make those imprints with people, and we love that, when that takes place. Neil and his wife have done some fantastic things since we knew them many years ago, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And also because we want that to encourage you on your journey, because for those of you watching this program, many of you are practitioners, gifted practitioners, speakers, trying to find your way, trying to figure out how to get your messages out there, or trying to work on touching other people's lives to help them expand their consciousness and their well-being. And we hope that these types of interviews inspire you to be brave and to stay working, towards your goal.
Well, not just to be brave, but to understand that there are outlets that are out there that are available to people to come present themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, obviously, these events like Neil is putting on, the Portal to Ascension event that we're going to be participating in. We have the honor of participating in with that. Obviously, those events, we want to invite you guys out. We want to have you at those things, intermingle with everybody, get inspired, hear incredible stories, life stories of people who have these experiences in their lives. And there was a time when people just couldn't talk about, for many reasons, couldn't talk about their experiences. They, number one, they were afraid because nobody believed them, everybody would shame them. And the great thing is now people are really embraced, I think, for what they've experienced. And it's always, again, just kind of spreading all that great information.
Yeah.
So, Neil, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, guys. It's good to be here.
This, were you this weird kid that, had communication with beings or aliens, or, just inspired through music? How did all of this start with you?
Okay, well, I was actually born in England, in London, England. I was raised in an Indian family, and my parents, I was raised Hindu. That was the religion that I was brought up in. And I did whatever my mom, and look, my dad really was kind of standoffish with religion. He was religious, but he didn't really need the rites and rituals. He just let my mom kind of dictate that for the family. So I would just do all these rituals, and I really didn't have any belief. I wasn't like, oh my God, like Shiva, please help me every single day. I was just doing whatever they told me. And when I graduated, I came over here when I was 12. I was in high school, still had the same kind of feelings. I did feel like a little disconnected and off, like my group of people, the people I hung out with showed it, the kind of conversations I would have with people, but it wasn't like deeply esoteric yet. It was just kind of these abstract thoughts. So when I graduated at age 18, I went to Cal State Fullerton here in California. And now I was introduced to a world of new information, new people from all over the world. And due to that, I started doing my own research, and I stumbled across three individuals: Nassim Haramein, Jim Self, and Jordan Maxwell. This is in the year 2000. I was 18. And I spent like 2-3 years going down the rabbit hole. I watched everything that they had to offer, which was really a full circle awareness of consciousness, because it was like proving that we're all one through mathematics. It was talking about the occult and the history of the Illuminati and the sons of God. And then it was talking about the Merkaba light body and how to use it to ascend. So that was like my introduction to all this information. But that made me stumble across different scriptures. My real reason why I wanted to kind of like why I got into this was I wanted to find out the root of all religion. When I was 18 and 19 years old, when I was listening to all this information, I started reading the Sumerian tablets of creation, because that was like the number one thing to move into this information, because the ancient alien theory was really taking a foot in that time. And when I was reading the Sumerian scriptures, and they were saying that this is the oldest scriptures, the oldest written scriptures in the world, and now we can maybe say that there are others, but this is what we have dubbed as the oldest. And then we look at those stories there, and there's many stories in those scriptures that are taken and put into all different religions around the world, whether it's Hinduism, the religion I was raised in. So I was like 18 years old at Panera Bread with the Sumerian scriptures in one book, and the Quran next to it, and the Bible next to it, and me with a highlighter literally highlighting all these similarities. And I was wondering, I was like, well, this is so interesting. Why is everybody focusing on what makes us different, and all you see is on the mainstream is the difference that we have with each other? Yet I'm looking at these scriptures right here, and even that, like the smoking gun being the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the exact same story as the story of Noah, but Gilgamesh was an extraterrestrial hybrid, and that these stories predated the Bible and the Old Testament by thousands of years. So, and as a Hindu being raised in England, first of all, Hindus do not think that other religions are wrong. Like, you know how a lot of other religions think that my way is the only way. Hinduism has in the first like text in the Rig Veda basically saying that there are many pathways to the same destination. There is no way to formally convert into Hinduism, because you can call yourself anything and there is no right or ritual to do it. And you don't need to convert because every pathway goes to the same place. That's their philosophy, you know? So, so because of that, there's even text in the Hindu scriptures that talk about Jesus. Very few people know it, but most Indian people accept Jesus as a person that existed, especially people who live in the United States as Indians, and especially in England, because Indians in England celebrate Christmas more than they do over here. And I think that's part of the indoctrination of when they left India and they went to England. So I was like, so I watched every Christmas, every Easter. I was like watching Ben-Hur, Moses, you know, like these are my like movies. And I was into Christianity, and I believed Jesus was there. I just wasn't a Christian. And so then I was like, wait a second. So either the number one religion on the world, which is Christianity at this point, is completely fake because they're taken from these older scriptures talking about extraterrestrials, or everything comes from extraterrestrials. So, and I'm still oversimplifying it by using the word extraterrestrial, because interdimensional, ultra-dimensional, like whatever these beings are. So because of that, I went in deeper and deeper into the extraterrestrial question from 18 to 2008 when I was 26. But I was going deep into a rabbit hole. It was taking me down the conspiracy route. It was taking me down the Sons of God route, the bloodline, the Illuminati, these controllers that think they're the offspring, or may even be like a hybridized version of the Anunnaki, right? So for a whole 8 years of me being in college and beyond a little bit, I was really into the fear part of this whole thing, the conspiracies. We're going to be taken over. They're trying to control us. They're trying to depopulate us. Look at the Georgia Guidestones. You know, it's like these things are telling us what they want to do to us. And we're just sitting here and like, what are we going to do about it? In 2008, when the stock market crashed, I lost my job as a financial advisor. I started learning how to web design just to like figure something else out. I started going to open mics because I was writing spoken word poetry, but I hadn't performed it yet. So in 2008, I went to perform for the first time. Around the same months, I met my now wife. I met like 20 other musicians, comedians, people that became my best friend, and they were really my soul family. And that was the point where I shifted from conspiracies, and I realized there was a missing link in everything that I was doing, because I was talking about spirituality. I was talking about something that is beyond organized religion and non-dogmatic. We're talking about vibration and frequencies in the Sumerian scriptures, but at the same time, like, it's supposed to be about love and spirituality, but I have this whole fear about me. So I realized the missing link was love and the bigger picture. This is when I accepted the bigger picture. Yes, people are starving in Africa. Yes, there are conspiracies happening all over the world, but the bigger picture is why we came down to earth, the contracts we chose to have, the experiences that we're having, and the fact that we came here to experience duality and figure out how to find the oneness in a place where we forgot where we came from, and we're in such a dualistic place that it's not that easy to do that. So even though all this crazy like lies, corruption, and manipulation and hate is going on in the world, the bigger picture is that the oneness allowed it to manifest in the first place so that we could have these experiences, and there is no real judgment on it on the higher realms. It's just experience, right? So when I kind of adopted that mentality, that's when Portal to Ascension was born in 2008. It'd been a Facebook group for 2 years, but then it became, in 2008, it became actual Portal to Ascension. I changed the group's name from 2012 Consciousness, Mind Evolution, and Presence to Portal to Ascension, and we started creating small sound healing events. And from there, the sound healing events to selling Tibetan bowls to creating all-day ancient alien conferences and tours in 2010. Now we're at a point where we're creating around 110 events a year. Some speakers we produce everything for. Some speakers we have other types of contracts where we do a portion of them, maybe only the online events, maybe a yearly tour for them. Some people will just be in one all-day conference a year. So we work with over 400 speakers. We have worked with over 400 speakers, and it continues to grow every month. And we are really attempting to look into every topic that we can think of in regards to empowering the human in this new reality coming, whether it's conscious nutrition, whether it's the one that we just did on protecting yourself from geoengineering, right? Like, or whether it's extraterrestrials, or our main topic, which is uncovering the true ancient history of humanity, and even going into our galactic history, because that really ties into everything else. So whatever I can really think of, because every couple of months I have like 2 new ideas for events, we just end up creating a production on it. Like, we're going to do one on sacred sexuality, a whole day, 8-hour event just on sacred sexuality, where we talk about not only about, the sex trafficking rings going on and the distortion of the sexual energy, but then also provide practical tools in order to, empower yourselves so that you can harmonize your own sexual energy. So it's where we'll become a one-stop shop for consciousness at this point, and we're just continuing to expand.
Well, I love, and we caught up with you kind of when you were doing the sound bowl thing, and had the opportunity to have, some
That was
conversation.
way back.
That was a while
Way
ago.
back.
Yeah, and Julius,
Because we had actually lost contact with him.
yeah, because we stopped kind of
Yeah,
doing some
we-
of those events
we
because
quit.
Julius hits all of that, like you said, Neil, from the oneness aspect, where everything became launched, where everything went into duality, and how that happened. And at that time, and some people were really wanting that information. Other people were wanting a lot of the lower
Well, we were having
consciousness.
a hard time fitting in no matter where we were going. It's like we were 2 to 3, maybe even 5 years ahead of our time.
Yeah.
It just felt like
Neil.
that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what was happening. And so we weren't really able to find a place that we really fit in. So we just kind of
We did our own thing.
backed out and have created our
Yeah.
own thing, just like you have.
What I do love, though, Neil, is I love the fact that you moved your energy up, actually, to come out of just all of the fear information, which is valid information, into the higher echelons of that higher consciousness state, which is really the usable area, the really usable energy where changes can be created.
Yeah, the ironic part is, and I know that you have witnessed this, Neil, but you still have to keep, because this is an earthly realm, this planet, as a marketing tool, however you want to put it, but anything that has to do with spirituality, you still have to have a presence of the extraterrestrial programming, the fear-based programming, because there are certain things that draw people to events. And until you've been able to weigh the fear aspect against a we are one aspect and see how they both level themselves out, you literally have to stand in that arena and feel all of that and understand how all of that works on this planet.
Well, I think also nobody needs to be taking the position that whatever their information is the only right information.
Right.
You want to be inviting people in. You want to invite people in to conversation, to thought, to possibilities, to exposing to people's experiences, so we can all support each other in their truth. Hopefully, possibly, we're all moving into expandable versions of that truth and finding our ways and our places. So Neil, I do have to ask a question before we'll continue our conversations about the events and stuff. So how does your family, handle all of this? Of course they love you, I'm sure, but how does are your mom and dad are still around, right?
Yeah, they're still around. My mom knows I do spiritual events. She knows I do productions. She's done my accounting for the last 3 years, so she's seen all the stuff, but she doesn't understand, and I've spoke to her. My dad doesn't want to know. And a couple years ago, he was like, finally, after 2 years, he finally asked me, what's all this alien stuff? And that was out of a heated disharmonic argument because I hadn't dealt with my daddy issues, so it's that's what ended up coming out. And then I'm another time I argued with him, I was he's like, what have you been spending all your time on? And I'm I showed him a report on UFOs. I'm like, this, and he's almost, I didn't even know. He doesn't want to know. He can't fathom it. I even thought of telling him and showing him the mainstream outlet for UFO disclosure that's happened recently with Tom DeLonge and stuff, even though I think the disclosure and people getting to know more about this is great. I really don't trust Tom DeLonge 100%, but I was going to show him this stuff and be like, maybe now he'll listen to me, but now I'm just I don't even want to, where is it coming from? I'm coming from because I want be accepted by my daddy, whatever. I'm just going to continue living my life. And if he wants to know, he'll know, and if it gets to a point where we need to know, then I'm going to have to sit him down, because who knows what's going to happen on this planet, right? When this stuff starts coming out. But my mom, I've told her a couple of times, sat with her, explained to her stuff, and told her I work with whistleblowers and people in the government. I don't think she realizes how important what we do really is and how globally impactful it is, and how we're working with people that come out and some of them use us as a platform to release their information before anyone. We work with the Air Force historian that was in the know and on the inside of deep black op projects, where he had the blueprints of these craft that haven't been released yet, and we did a whole 3-hour presentation exposing these blueprints, and no one else had come out with it. So it's some pretty heavy stuff, and I don't think they think that their little son could ever be doing something that big.
Hang on just a second. Neil, I'm going to ask you to adjust your camera just a little bit down. There you go, right there. Not that far down.
Just a little bit.
Up a little bit more.
There we go.
I want to get more of your face. What happened? There you go. There you go. There you go. Well, I don't want to cut his chin off, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good right there.
Right? Yeah. Perfect. That's perfect. There you go.
Well, and on the, to again, kind of loop everything in and together. So I have my own experiences with a particular extraterrestrial that comes and chats with us very often. Not Julius. Julius is who I channel, but I have this other experience, and that's something that we don't share openly with a whole lot of people. We have our own.
We don't really talk too much
cool
about that.
But to support that, many people have. Countless people have these encounters, these ongoing relationships. And people like yourself, Neil, who are providing these platforms, really, like I said, of safety. It's okay for us to talk about this. This is interesting. Where before, everybody judged that, everybody's afraid of it. one thing that I've always found really interesting, I find that people are generally not so much angry or upset about information that comes out. They mostly get angry and upset about the fact that they've been lied to or that this information's been kept from them. You know, there's long been this theory of, you know, why doesn't the government tell us this, and da-da-da-da, and they'll say, oh, it's for your own good because you won't be able to handle the truth. I'm like, well, that's bullshit. Everybody processes information. Inevitably, I think information generally empowers us, which is the problem. That's really the problem. But to allow this information to come out like you are, Neil, with love and with intention and with allowing for everybody is so wonderful. So thank you for doing that. And also embracing all of the variables, because some people could perceive Julius as being some type of extraterrestrial, this energy source that comes through and empowers everybody back, you know, to that oneness state. So thank you for all of that. As this has happened in your life, had you ever imagined, you know, as a child, that this was going to be well, it's on such a large scale for any of us who are providing information. There's this rippling effect that we sometimes won't ever even know about.
Yeah, honey, he sat in England at 10 years of age and said, I'm going to go to the United States of America and I'm going to promote events and I'm going to talk about extraterrestrial activity.
Well,
and all
when
this
you
other...
were talking to Julius as a child, you knew other things were coming.
I knew a lot of other
Okay.
things were coming, but to be very honest, I hid that.
Yeah,
I didn't bring that out in public.
yeah.
I forgot about it because I was told by other people, we don't talk about those things. You know, you get in a lot of trouble for those things.
But what is it like for you, Neil, when people come and say, you know, man, you know, you've made such a difference. You've shifted people's lives, because people who hide in a shroud of secrecy, that have permission to come out of their prison, really. You know, you're like the keymaster. You've unlocked the door and let some of these people out. That's got to feel pretty nice for you.
Yeah, it does. And every few months, I have a moment where I really think about the gravity of what we're doing, you know, and sometimes I might stumble on a YouTube video that somebody put up of one of our events from years ago, and there's like 2 million views on it, you know, like we did an event with Michael Tellinger. We threw it up on YouTube. It had 3 million views. And so I'm just like, whoa, like that's a lot of people, right? Like that are being inspired by this information. And then other speakers that go viral, people have, so it's just like the amount of content that we're putting out. I haven't really come across any consistent source of that much content all the time. Interviews, podcasts, every other day a new YouTube video, every week a webinar. On last weekend, we did Emery Smith, 2 weekends ago, Emery Smith, Michael Tellinger, and James Redfield from the Celestine Prophecy in 3 different states on the same day at the same hour. And so we had 3 huge epic events, like in every corner of the United States going on, of some of the biggest people in this information. So, and I just sit back and like really like smile at it, because it's pretty awesome to see what kind of impact we're having. And we have like a 10-year plan from now for the next like 10 years. We're creating a new production next year in November. So we're gonna have 2 full conference productions. And then in 2021, we're gonna go to Austin. We have one in Colorado. So it's cool. And to answer your question about when I was a kid, I knew something was off. When I was in high school, I was using words like the universe and things like that we use in this community now, but I had no knowing. When I was writing poetry at 18, I was writing this stuff. Like, I didn't know that there was other people talking about it. I thought it was my abstract poetry, you know? And then when I started getting into this stuff, like in 2008, I felt that what I was supposed to be is a platform for people that are known and not well known to have a place where they can become heard by more people. That's what I always thought I was. When we first started in 2008 with the event productions, and in 2009 we worked with Dr. Dream doing his first tour of love with Tibetan bowls and sound healing. I was like, we were the event production company, Portal to Ascension. He was the speaker. We were the ones taking speakers that weren't well known on the road, doing all the event production for them to get them well known to a bigger audience. Then I started doing that the next year and the next year with two other people. I took them on. We went on tour and did that as well. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. Not only are we a platform for already established people, but we're a place where people who aren't so established but they have something to share can come and bridge themselves into this community and present and get paid. We pay all of our speakers. 75% of all of the income that comes in goes towards funding speakers, researchers, presenters, archaeologists, quantum physicists, whistleblowers, so that they can get a plane ticket to go to Germany and talk more. So we not only are pumping out so much content, but we are a constant source of funding across every level of this awakening and to people. So we're allowing some speakers, they got a part-time gig with us because they do 3 events a year, and that gives them a good amount of money where they can continue their work, So I feel my thing is that I'm really happy about is the fact that we're able to fund speakers and have the integrity, because a lot of people have issues getting paid for what they do. So we have these contracts, we have these agreements. As soon as the event's over, within 24 hours, they have money in their bank account for the time they contributed, and they can continue doing their work.
Nice. That's nice. And so, Neil, when you're out with your wife and you guys are doing your thing, because you get out to the other events too, you get out and intermingle, which not everybody does, which is really, really nice. And again, you see this tidal wave, that you've helped to assist open up. What is it that you can tell all these viewers that are watching this, that are kind of they've got a story, they've got experiences, they can't find, how do we find the bravery inside of us, to do it? What would you tell them, Neil?
Well, there was a time when I first woke up and I used to just want to tell everybody. I was like, oh my God, there was a 10th planet in our solar system. There was these beings called the Anunnaki. And what comes to mind is one day when I was at a bar hanging out, it was like midday, like 2-3 o'clock. And I met some dude there, and I was like telling all these people about the ETs and like the 10th planet. Like I was just telling everybody, no matter who you were, right? And then I took a step back and I started not attempting to interfere with people's realities. I went on the other side of it. I was like, everybody's on their own. I'm living my life. I don't need to try to move anyone. Now I'm kind of at the hybrid of both of them. That I don't have expectations for people. I don't tell them in a way like, you got to know, oh my God, I'm passionate about it, but my passion doesn't allow me to stumble over my words and my communication about it. I'm just neutrally telling them a story. And I feel right now, to answer your question, is a different time than 10 years ago, where we would leave people alone so that they could continue living their status quo life. We're getting to a point now where we are hitting critical mass, and the outside reality, the external reality, is really manifesting, is showing that there are things coming out. There's technologies being released. There's people talking about stuff that's going to come out on the higher levels of government and the elite. There's a mass exposure of the child sex trafficking ring that literally is like this underlying foundational element of like the entire planet and its elite structure. People are losing their faith in the hierarchy because it was an illusion in the first place. People are realizing these celebrities and these stars aren't who we thought they were. And there's this awakening of equality where we're realizing we're all just humans in this together. Now we're at a point where the paradigm of the economy and society as we know it can't operate the same exact way once all of these mechanisms get disclosed. So if anything, I would say to everybody else out there who's into these topics, if you really want to be in your passion, be in your joy, and especially if it has something to do with the awakening of humanity, right now is the time to connect with people. Either, you got a full-time job and you want to volunteer and just donate a few hours a week to help somebody with letting people know on social media about these conscious events, or if you want to look for actually a position, because I would never have imagined it. Now, all of these people that were light workers 10, 20 years ago are now full-on organization owners, and they have employees, including myself. Like, we're becoming full-on organizations that is a new world of conscious businesses that are being created now for this new paradigm that is manifesting.
Thank you. Thank you for that, because
people have an opportunity to actually go and get hired in these fields right now.
yeah. And it is changing. We were laughing and saying that, 10, 12 years ago, what was the spirituality business? It wasn't a business. Like, what was it that we do? We used to laugh about that. What do we do? I was still telling people I was a hairdresser at that point.
There's no rule book,
right.
And then I know that you're in the same situation, Neil, but you're always looking for someone to develop an ad for you. You're always looking for somebody to do something on the electronic side of things, because this flippin' electronic world just changes so flippin' fast. In production, I mean, you produce your own events. You do basically everything that we do. You just do it on a much grander scale than we do. But you've got to have employees. We've got to have employees. This whole spirituality movement, no matter which side you want to look at, that's what I was saying. You've got to have all of it in one place to give people the opportunity to pick and choose and to actually see from an open-minded perspective, not from closed-mindedness, but from an open-minded perspective. You need to be able to sit down and visit with people about what they feel are the important things that are important to the human experience. And I believe this is what your event offers people and gives them an opportunity to do, is to actually walk into a building and sit down and visit with all these people that are sitting in a room and get everybody's different perspective on the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
Neil, let's talk a little bit, if we can, specifically about your Portal to Ascension event that's coming up this October in Irvine, California. We have been honored to be part of that event with you. We'll be speaking and allowing Julius to come out and speak to the audience. But let's talk about that, Neil. What is that, Neil? What is that event primarily about? And let's talk about some of the speakers and some of the things that the audience could experience as they come out to that event.
Sure. So I'll start with a little history of how it manifested. When we first started doing events, as I told you, we did tours, we did small all-day events, we did meditation events, and then in 2012 we created two 3-day conferences. One called Cosmic Reunion 2012, and then actually March 2013 was Cosmic Reunion 4th Density. Those were our two conferences where we had like 23 speakers, some really well known. Bashar was the headliner, one of them. And then after that, it wasn't really feasible to do live conferences because it's not easy to create these productions. A full-time work, and if you're doing other events too, it's full-time on top of full-time. And then you may lose all your money and even not be able to pay your rent, which is what happened to us. We couldn't pay our rent. We had to leave our apartment. We were on the road for 6 months afterwards, basically homeless because of putting on events. And then around a year later, I decided to quit Portal to Ascension. But then some miracles happened, synchronicities happened, angels came into my life, and decided to rebrand Portal to Ascension and go online. So for 5 years now, we've been almost 100% online until maybe a couple of live events a year. But the goal was to be self-sustaining and to be generating so many people and a good amount of income that we can go into live event productions again. Last year, we hit that goal. So we went ahead and created the Portal to Ascension conference. And we create many solo webinars where a speaker can go 3 hours on one topic. But our goal is we are Portal to Ascension. What that represents is we are portal to all things that can equal an ascension, individually and collectively. Even if it's ascending in your own life for tomorrow, so you can just feel better for the next few days because you've had like maybe a tough time in life. So our event symbolizes that. It's a portal to ascension. It's just like what we are. It's a event manifestation of our mission statement, which is a one-stop shop for awakening, but funneled in a way where we teach them what has happened, why it happened, and we're always funneling things. The difference you may see from some, this event on conspiracies, for example, is that after the conspiracy, you're kind of left there to know what the conspiracy is, but there is no direction to what happens next. And what you said earlier, and what we spoke about earlier about the fact that people when you are not emotionally triggered, basically, or when you're neutral and you realize the bigger picture of how this is all happening, you're able to make more informed decision than when you're emotionally triggered because you're angry at something. So when people say to me, like, what about the starving kids in Africa? If you think everything happens for a reason, what about the starving kids in Africa? I'm like, well, the thing is, when you have this understanding and you're not using it as a spiritual bypassing to say everything happens for a reason, but this is what's happened, you are no longer triggered to the point that you unconsciously try to make a solution to that thing. You know what I'm saying? So like, so what we do with our conference is that not only are we explaining like some of these are hard, like disgusting truths, even what has happened to us, and but then we funnel people into, okay, this is the bigger picture, this is why it's happened, this is the beings that are involved in this process, and this is where we're going to end up. So we start by explaining the history of how it happened. We go into talking about ancient civilizations. We're going to be uncovering some new discoveries that have occurred, including in Peru, that are changing the timeline of human history, especially the fact that it looks like on multiple occasions there have been other humanoids, like that are not us, that are not Homo sapiens sapien, but that have coexisted with us. Imagine existing with another sentient being that has a similar body structure as you, but maybe smaller, that you can't mate with because it's a different species, but you can interact with. That has happened multiple times, and there's evidence to show it, especially in Peru. So we'll be talking about that. And then we will also be providing a lot of entertainment, music, and frequency. Our event is kind of like, I like to say, like a sound healing concert with ancient history and extraterrestrials, because it's an experience from the moment you go in to the moment you go out. Every day we have an awe-inspiring musical ensemble. On one day we have the 10 didgeridoo players with drums around the whole room while everybody's in there. On another day we have a hang drum circle, and then on the last day we have a capoeira performance right after lunch. So it's going to be extremely high energy. It's our signature event. It's not oh my God, we need to change type of event. It's like, oh my God, we need to celebrate type of event, you know? So it's a lot of these people we work with all the time. A lot of speakers that come to our events. We do like 2-3 other events a year. Some of them we do tours for. Micah Tellinger, we just did 20 events in a row every 3 days for the last 2 months. He will be there as well. And so it's for them to celebrate their work and life, because a lot of these people go to conferences and they're just on the rat race, going from presentation to presentation, stressed out, too many people, energy. We make it that this 350 to 400 people is all we can accommodate. So it's a nice intimate event, and all the speakers actually engage and interact with everyone. And we make sure that they're taken care of, because they've just had a whole year of a lot of work, but our event should be the place where they can come and unwind. Yeah.
Nice, Neil. Thank you so much. We, of course, are very much looking forward to seeing you there and being part of that. We feel, again, very honored and blessed to be part of this event. Tell everybody, Neil, let's get all your contact information out there, your websites, your Facebooks, your groups. Please tell everybody how to get a hold of you, how to contact you, any questions, any interest in the things that you're doing. Please tell everybody that.
Yeah, sure. Well, if you love what you heard today and you want to just be a part of everything, then you just Google Portal to Ascension and you just join the first 6 things you find. You'll be on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook fan page. We have a Facebook page for Portal to Ascension group. We have a Portal to Ascension California chapter group. We have a UK chapter, Canada chapter, New York chapter, Portland and Seattle chapter, all on Facebook. So you can go ahead and join any of those. But the main thing is, if you want to, because our website operates kind of like, it's like a video subscription site where you can view and browse your videos, presentations by speaker, by category. You can type in the search box. It's very well designed. You can sign up to our website, portaltoascension.org. You'll get a username and password. You log into our site. There's hundreds of hours of free presentations that we've done in the last 11 years that we've marked as free now. So you can have this resource available to you at no cost. If you want to sign up for any upcoming events, when they're done, the replay just gets loaded in your back and you just log in and you can view it. So the main thing that you could really do is, by supporting us, is actually going to portaltoascension.org and signing up there on our email list.
Thank you, Neil. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for this great conversation, and of course taking the time, because we do know how busy you are. For all of our viewers out there, we encourage you, of course, go to that website, check out a lot of the things that are going on. You're going to feel inspired, you're going to feel supported. Come on out to the event, support Neil in all of those ways. Come and see us. We're excited to see everybody. You'll be able to experience Julia's channeling in their superpowerness to help unleash all of your dreams and all of your potentials as well. And Neil, we send you back our blessings and our love until we get to see you in just a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Right. Thanks,
guys. See you then.
Thanks, everybody.
AscensionConference.com, everyone. I forgot to mention that. That's the website, AscensionConference.com. AscensionConference.com.
Much for that. Everybody, thanks for joining us for another episode of Extraordinary Experiences. We want to thank Xpnsion Network that platforms all kinds of programs to inspire you on your conscious journey and help unleash all of your limitations that have ever held you back in any format, right?
That's
We
right.
encourage you to go to expansionnetwork.com and check out the other programming. Until next time, have the most extraordinary day.